The views and opinions expressed on My Story Living with Lupus podcast represents each person's individual experience. By listening to this podcast or reading our blog, you agree not to use this podcast or blog as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others. As always, consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. My Story Living with Lupus podcast is officially trademarked, all rights reserved. Thank you for joining me for another episode of My Story Living with Lupus podcast. I'm your host, Susan Hendricks, and I'm so glad that you could join me on this Thursday. That's right, Thursday, June 17th, 2021. Today's episode is about when hyperactive proteins trigger illness. That's right. Researchers find trigger for autoimmune diseases and cancer of the lymph node. Also, do you believe that plant-derived compounds may help treat chronic pain? And lastly, I'm going to be talking about a doctor who won, I think it was a $2.75 million lawsuit against his employer. But the judge overturned that. We'll be discussing that also. And lastly, I want to talk to you about the word that all of us uses who have chronic illness, such as I am a lupus survivor. I'm going to talk to you about that at the end of the show. So, you know what I want you to do. All the way from the United States to the National Capital Territory of Delhi, India. Get ready to grab your cup of coffee, your glass of masala, or your favorite cup of tea. But to my listeners late at night, go grab your favorite glass of wine and come on and join the conversation right here on My Story Living with Lupus podcast. Ophthalmology Associates, PC, Drs. Berman and Dr. Zuckerbrod, treating diseases of the eye and eye surgery. You can reach them at 313-341-3450. All right. I thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of My Story Living with Lupus podcast. Now, researchers find trigger for autoimmune diseases and cancer of the lymph node when hyperactive proteins trigger illnesses. Now, the immune system can be a mixed blessing. Usually, it is highly effective in protecting the human organisms against bacteria, viruses, and even cancer. But these defense cells can also turn against the body's own tissues and trigger autoimmune diseases, including, for example, rheumatoid arthritis and systemic lupus erythematosus, an illness involving chronic dermatitis and inflammation of the joints, the nervous system, and internal organs, or even become cancer cells themselves and develop into leukemias and lymphomas. But what causes these destructive immune system attacks? Well, B cells, a subgroup of white blood corpuscles produced in the bone marrow, play a central role in regulating immune responses. During a normal immune response, activated B cells produce antibodies which attack foreign substances. Defective activation can result in formation of antibodies which attack the body itself, triggering an autoimmune disease. The activity of B cells is controlled by a variety of signals, some of which we have yet to understand. Now, a research team who conducted research have succeeded in identifying one decisive signal which influences B cell activity. Now, the objective of the research was to characterize the possible pathological roles of a protein located on the surface of the B cells. This receptor, the receptor activator of NFKB or RANK, represents increased activity in patients with systemic lupus erythematosus and in some B cell lymphomas. They went out to find out if hyperactive rank receptors actually trigger these illnesses. Now, the rank receptors work like switches within the cell. They generate a signal in the cell when activated by signal molecules. One such signal molecule is called rank L for receptor activator of NFKB ligand. Now, while the researchers were working in the laboratory to determine the effects of hyperactive rank receptors, the team compared healthy mice and genetically modified animals with modified rank receptors. After only a few weeks, a large portion of the mice with genetically modified receptors contracted SLE, better known as systemic lupus erythematosus, while the animals in the control group remained healthy, proving that this autoimmune disease can be triggered by defective regulation of the rank signals. Now, After about a year, the transgenic mice that survive SLE contracted chronic lymphatic leukemia or CLL. This result was a surprise since it shows that activated rank proteins are also responsible for the degeneration of B cells to cancer of the lymphatic system nodes, lymph nodes, basically. These findings also help treat autoimmune diseases and lymphatic leukemia in the future. Therapeutic antibodies, which block the interaction of rank receptors and rank L ligands, were originally developed and used to treat osteoporosis. Here, the objective um, was to counteract the deterioration of bone tissue, which is also triggered by hyperactive rank receptors. Scientists use these blockings antibodies to successfully treat mice suffering from chronic lymphatic leukemia. Future clinical trials and studies will have to determine whether or not this therapy is also suitable for humans. So there has been progress in finding what exactly triggers or causes SLE. And it looks like from this research, it is a hyperactive protein which can trigger the illness. Stay with me, and when we return, we'll discuss chronic pain. And do you believe a plant derived compound may help treat chronic pain? You'll find out when I return. So stay with me. If you would like to appear on an episode of My Story Living with Lupus, you can contact us at mystorylivingwithlupus@gmail.com. Also visit us on our Instagram page and also our website, My Story Living with Lupus. You know, new research suggests that a compound that exists naturally in the pinwheel flower may help treat chronic pain. That's right, plant-derived compound may help treat chronic pain. The body's opioid system regulates its response to pain, and many opioid medications target this system for chronic pain relief. However, though, opioid drugs can have dangerous long term side effects. Additionally, scavenger receptors can negatively regulate the effectiveness of naturally produced opioids in the body. A new study shows that the compound colonidine found in the pinwheel flower only binds to one particular scavenger receptor. Researchers believe that Blocking this scavenger receptor means that it can no longer prevent naturally produced opioids from interacting with other opioid receptors that promote pain relief. Now, the opioid system in the human body comprises many proteins, receptors, and other compounds that all play a vital role in controlling people's pain responses and behavior towards reward and addiction. In addition to the body's naturally produced proteins known as opioid peptides, there are opioid analgesic medications. These includes drugs such as morphine and oxycodone, which doctors often prescribe to treat pain. These drugs, which mimic the function of the opioid peptides, can have significant side effects when people take them frequently or in high amounts. Not only can they cause respiratory depression, constipation, and nausea, but they are also highly addictive in nature and have led to increasing rates of fatal overdoses. The opioid crisis is a public health crisis that is further tied to racial and economic disparities. And finding alternative therapeutic options to address chronic pain is just one part of the solution. A recent study, which features in the journal Signal Transduction and Targeted Therapy, showed that a plant derived compound called colonidine might work to increase opioid peptides, pain regulating activity, suggesting that it could be a safer alternative to opioid drugs. Now, scientists at both the immunopharmacology and interactomics group of the Luxembourg Institute of Health and the Center for Drug Discovery at RTI International in North Carolina conducted this collaborative study. Opioids and opioid receptors. Now, in the body, opioid peptides interact with and bind to classical opioid receptors. There are four types of classical opioid receptors, which are mostly in the central and peripheral nervous systems. The interaction between the opioid peptides and the classical receptors trigger a cascade of protein signaling function that eventually lead to pain relief. However, when the same researchers at LIH conducted a previous study, they identified a atypical opioid receptor called ACKR3. Is colonidine a key molecule for pain? In response to this issue, the study looked into conolidine, a molecule that is present in the bark of the pinwheel flower and commonly used in traditional Chinese and Thai medicine due to its analgesic properties. In a screening test involving more than 240 receptors, the researchers found that conolidine demonstrated binding to the ACKR3 receptor in both humans and mice, preventing ACKR3 from binding to opioid peptides. Additionally, the conolidine molecule did not interact with the classical receptors, meaning that it would not compete against opioid peptides to bind these receptors. These results suggest that conolidine is able to restrict the ACKR3 receptors' negative regulatory properties and free up opioid peptides, allowing them to bind the classical opioid receptors and promote analgesic activity. Now, is there new a treatment in the horizon? Well, the scientists also extended their findings by chemically modifying conolidine to create a new compound, RTI 515212, which binds specifically to the ACKR3 receptor. In comparison with the natural conolidine, this synthetic compound showed increased binding to the ACKR3 receptor, making it more effective potential treatment option. Overall, the discovery of the potential mode of action of conolidine and its activity on ACKR3 is a significant step forward toward a more exhaustive understanding of its role in pain regulation, bearing great potential for novel drug development against chronic pain. Now, although this study identifies the correlation between conolidine and ACKR3, the mechanisms of action following the binding interaction is not yet clear. Nevertheless, conolidine may have minimal side effects in comparison with opioid drugs, and it opens an exciting avenue into the research of the opioid system. Now, have you ever thought about ways that you can control your pain yourself for those who suffer from chronic pain? Now, we know that chronic pain is complex and it can take a person some time to find the best pain relief method that works for them. There are many options to try, such as hot and cold therapy, yoga, or possibly drug treatments. Chronic pain may develop after an injury or due to a medical issue. Healthcare professionals define pain as chronic if it lasts longer than 3 months or beyond the normal healing time for the underlying condition or injury. Chronic pain can affect every part of a person's life, from work and social life to sleep and, yes, mental health. Now, how common is chronic pain? Well, the 2017 Global Burden of Disease study estimates that pain and disease related to pain are the leading causes of disability worldwide. And the amount of people living with chronic pain is increasing. Chronic pain has associations with numerous physical and mental health conditions, including depression, sleep problems, social isolation, and overuse of medical medication, which is prescribed by your physician, which can lead to drug addiction. Now, when it comes to pain management, now I'm quite sure that there are numerous of individuals who have been referred to pain management treatment. Now, pain management refers to techniques to reduce and control the amount of pain a person experiences over the long term. There are many ways to manage pain, and not all of them include taking medication. Physical techniques. Various physical methods can help relieve pain, including physical therapy, hot and cold therapy, massage, and acupuncture. Hot and cold therapy is a common and safe technique to reduce pain. Heat can help relax the muscles and dilate the blood vessels. It can also promote healing after an injury. Cold therapy reduces blood flow and reduces inflammation that causes pain. It often involves applying an ice pack wrapped in a towel to the skin. Massage. Massages is a type of soft tissue manipulation. People may benefit from this technique when used with other pain management treatments, such as physical therapy and pain medication. The benefit of massage includes relaxation, increased flexibility, reduced inflammation, improved posture, improved circulation, reduced stiffness. A 2007 review on massage found that it may be effective for lower back pain. However, there is mixed evidence from examining its benefits for other chronic pain types. Now, when it comes to PT, physical therapy involves physical techniques to strengthen and stretch the muscle and joints. It can relieve pain throughout the body, while specific methods will vary by body part. Therapeutic exercises can have long term benefits for chronic pain, including helping people cope. Techniques may involve massage, exercise plans, and red light therapy. Now, a while ago, I did um, an episode on acupuncture. Now, acupuncture involves a practitioner applying thin needles to the skin at precise points of the body. According to the National Center of Complementary and Integrative Medicine, this includes short term pain relief from in the lower back, neck, knee, or, well, I should say, and include osteoarthritis. However, it states that there is little evidence to suggest it is effective over long term. The proposed benefits of acupuncture are pain relief, reduced inflammation, relaxation, reduced muscle spasms. Acupuncture is generally safe when performed by a trained practitioner using sterile needles. Have you ever did cognitive behavior therapy? Well, psychological treatments for chronic pain include taking therapies such as cognitive behavioral therapies, better known as CBT. Psychological treatments aim to reduce the negative impact that chronic pain can have on a person's mental health. A 2013 review on the effectiveness of psychological pain treatment techniques concludes that CBT is effective at reducing pain immediately after treatment compared with using no strategies. The review also found that there was no evidence that CBT can reduce long term pain. However, the technique was useful for reducing anxiety around pain and for improving quality of life. Now, yoga. I used to do yoga a long time ago, and I said the other day I was going to get back into it. Yoga aims to relax, strengthen, and keep the body flexible through stretching with specific poses focusing on particular body areas. Now, a study of 2010 into yoga effects on chronic pain found that it did not help. However, other studies have found yoga to be effective in reducing pain. Yoga is safe and accessible pain management technique that people can try at home using online videos or in a class with an instructor. And the last one, Tai Chi. I used to do this also. Tai Chi is an exercise therapy involving slow, continuous, fluid body movements combined with breathing and relaxation techniques. The method is also gentle on the joints and muscles. Tai Chi can improve strength and joint stability and the concentration it requires can improve a person's mood. According to a 2016 review, there is some evidence that the technique could help with chronic pain. It states that people using Tai Chi experienced improvements in chronic pain from rheumatoid arthritis, lower back pain, and osteoporosis. So take your pick, find out what works best for you. Stay with me. And when we return, I want to ask you this: are you a survivor or are you a conqueror? Stay with me. Abundant Harvest Aquaponics, planting seeds to grow food and creating opportunities for people and families. You can contact this nonprofit organization at www.abundantharvestaquaponics.org.